Hi guys, happy Wednesday and welcome back to another Krylan Live. Thanks again for always joining. We hope that you're having a fantastic week so far. So it's going to be myself and Gemma today taking today's live demonstration and session on primers. So I'm going to just get connected with Gemma, but we're going to be talking about the range of primers that Krylan offer, what's going to be the best for the best skin type, and also depending on what media you're going to work in. So if you have any primer questions, today's your day to get those over to us. I'm just going to see if Gemma's on, which I think she is. Bear with me. There she is. Having a good week and ready to talk all things primers.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, you?
Yes, good, thank you. Hi, everyone.
Perfect. I'm just going to get adjusted because I feel like I've got half of my head cut off, which is fine. It's not the end of the world, but
Yeah, we don't need to see your head. That's
it's
fine.
nice to have a bit of a hairline. Perfect. So yeah, all things primers today, Jem, right?
Absolutely. I think Krylan have so many primers to offer, and we know everyone asks now which one to use, when to use it, why to use it. So that is the plan, to discuss the primers, so everyone feels they have an option, whether it's best suited to their skin, the finish, or the media that they are working with. So guys, get your questions in if you are familiar with our primers or wish to try our new primer out.
Yeah, absolutely. I just see someone's asking about the fixing spray, and we'll get on any questions you have regarding products. Then, of course, we'll try and help you. It has been popular. It's really kind of gone crazy and sold out almost everywhere. But if you keep trying online or in your local stores, hopefully they'll have it back in stock shortly. But yeah, fingers crossed. It's been really popular. So yeah, primers, Gem. I'm going to be doing hydrating. Mainly because my skin is generally like normal to dehydrated, so they're the ones I tend to go towards, and I think it will just be the best to show on camera. And you're going to do?
So I'll do the opposite. So for anyone who's like me that tends to have oily skin or a slight shine after a few hours of wearing their makeup, or that you are working in maybe media and the camera loves to pick up some shine that sometimes we don't always see with the naked eye, so the lighting, reflection, etc. I'm going to show you the ones that are best suited for those areas. So yeah, let us know if you're dry or you're oily, what you hope to gain from your primer, etc., and we can support you. So pop your questions in the comments. We have a full team on board that can support, answer them as well as we.
Absolutely, and that's the thing when it comes to primers. We have to think of so many things. If it's on yourself, that's one thing. I think when you're using it as in a personal application, you want something that's going to give your skin the best condition. But like you said, which is, you know, really the main thing, if you're working in front of camera, media, it's what effects it has on that image as well. So we're going to try and go across the board with not only how to, you know, aim those problematic areas on your skin, but also if you need to cheat the camera or also enhance your skin for camera work as well. So the ones that I have in front of me, which we'll go through one by one, just so it doesn't confuse you guys. The first one that I have, which I would say is one of the kind of go-tos if you do tend to struggle with drier skin, if you need to give skin that kind of glowiness and glossiness to it. This is a really fantastic primer, which is Ultra Under Base. So this one is an emulsion. So it's water and silicone mix. So you're getting the hydration there from the water, but you're getting the durability from a small amount of silicone. So this one is fantastic for like day-to-day wear. It's great for hydrating. It's also like really cooling on the skin. I feel like in the past when I've used it for like brides or if I've been on like fashion shows and the skin tends to be quite warm to touch, this really helps to like soothe and cool the skin down. So yeah, fantastic primer for hydrating and giving your skin that really kind of glowy finish. Day-to-day wear, I would say this one is the best for like your everyday wake up makeup bag primer to go to. This is a really fantastic one for a normal to drier skin.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely give any primer a good shake for using, because quite often they can be an emulsion, like as Leanne mentioned, water and silicone base. If you are working with a primer that is purely silicone, they always need a good shake. So just think about assessing someone's skin type, can you noticeably see dry patches or dry areas? It doesn't necessarily mean that you put that hydrating primer all over. Does the skin look dehydrated? Or do you want the finish to have a glow? It may not be, they may have like an oily skin type, but like for myself, you see a natural shine on my skin, but we want to enhance it even further. So it's not always, it's thinking about the skin type and the finish. So that one, if you're looking for that super glossy, high shine, dewy makeup, the Ultra Underbase, would you agree, is the go-to?
Yeah. 100%. And like I said, even just for like an everyday, if you want something just to make your skin feel really sort of comfortable and hydrated, it's fantastic. It's definitely one of my go-tos.
Even if you are working with a foundation that can sometimes dehydrate the skin, or it can go too matte, if you know, sometimes we get caught out on a job and we're like, okay, they want to do look, but I've only got matte foundations. Team that up together. That's also a benefit of working with Ultra Underbase. A lot of people love our TV paint sticks, but some people say they're a bit dry. If you apply Ultra Underbase underneath the paint stick in that combination, it's a really beautiful finish. So yeah, I think that is the one. Maybe give that one a swatch, Lee, so people can see the effects of the Ultra Underbase.
Absolutely. We've got loads of questions coming in, so that's why I'm kind of looking down just to see what we've got coming in as well. So let me quickly do a swatch for you guys. So like Gemma said, give it a really good shake. It is an emulsion, so you do need to make sure that's mixed really well. It comes in a little pump bottle. So again, really practical, very hygienic, very easy to use in your kit. So I've just put a little bit on there so you can see it has a little bit more of like a milkier consistency. Like a moisturizer, just a little bit more of a serum kind of texture. So it doesn't leave any residue on the skin. It kind of blends in really nicely. And you can see there how much of that hydration it really gives to the skin as well. So this one, like Gemma said, working with matte foundations, if you need to hydrate them, if you just want to reblend the skin, make the skin look nice and glossy, this is a fantastic one to go for.
Yeah, it's very lightweight. I use it sometimes just as my moisturizer. If I'm a little bit unsure of the ingredient basis of moisturizer, or my client says to me, they like to hydrate the skin and they want to, moisturize first. That for me is my moisturizer as well as my primer. So primers are always going to be beneficial for longevity of your makeup and for the application. Like, there's so much to primers, why and when we use them.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like for me, that would be my 2-in-1 dual product. Like Gemma said, moisturising and priming. I really wouldn't, when I work with this, I wouldn't moisturise and then use this. I feel like this is enough. It hydrates enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got to think about how long the makeup's going to be on the skin for, and like I said, is it for every day or is it for medium? So let's go to the opposite now, and I'm going to introduce to you another alternative primer by Kryolan, which is the HD Micro Primer. I think you can see there in the title, HD. So that is working with your high definition cameras. So we all know that when working with high definition cameras, they do like to play around with texture on the skin, and that texture being shine. So this one will definitely reduce that. It doesn't completely mattify to the point that becomes dry or cakey, but it will just reduce the shine. It also contains silk protein, and that protein helps to just sort of fill in any fine lines and pores. It smooths over the skin. So if you've got a smooth base, then we allow for a smooth application and a beautiful blend of foundation. The silk protein also regulates the moisture, the moisture level in the skin. So, for example, you may do a client's makeup and you're not with them for the rest of the day, and you want to keep at bay those oils, control that. That primer will do that for you. So this is a really good one. This is silicone based, so we all know give them a really good shape. It's a little bit more thicker in consistency in comparison to the one that Leanne has just tested with. A small amount goes a very, very long way. So I tend to pinpoint this on the face. It tends to be like T-zone area that gets shiny. Pores tend to be sort of across this area. And if you've got any fine lines, it helps sort of blur out the vision of that.
Yeah.
which I love.
Anything to help us smooth is always a winner. But yeah, as well, that's kind of a primer for me that I would go to if someone is really like not oily, but also not too dry. It's such a good primer just as a balancing primer. So like Gemma said with the Silk Protein, it helps to regulate the moisture within your skin. So if you're someone that finds that you're not very oily, but maybe throughout the day you get a little bit oilier, that's a great one to just kind of hold that oil back and to regulate it, because generally when we get oily skin, it just means the skin's getting dehydrated, it's overworking, which then means it's bringing that oil to the surface of the skin so the skin doesn't feel dry. So that's going to be a fantastic primer to really help kind of balance and regulate that out. It's a little bit of a scientific one, that one. That's a good little helper.
Yeah, it really does. And for me, I see a comment that says this one's good for maturer skins. Yeah, absolutely, because it does blur out the texture in terms of fine lines and pores, but texture sometimes when it comes to light and reflection on the skin. So small amount is a really high performing primer, so a little goes a long way. Okay, so they were our first two primers from the Kryolan range that we've introduced you to.
I'm going to do some questions in between just so that we don't miss questions as well. So one question that I have here is primer essential for a long-lasting effect? That's a really good question. What's your thoughts on that, Jem?
Yeah, absolutely. I think skin prep will always give you longevity and sort of withstand the test of the makeup. So I do personally always prep the skin with a primer just to control and allow for the application to go on smoother. If it goes on smoother, then we're going to get better results.
Yeah, definitely. It's like anything. The way I always try and explain it to people is if it's as simple as painting a wall, you would always put a primer down first to be able to connect that paint onto the wall to get the durability. The same if you do gel nails, you'd always put a base coat down before you put on top the product. So yeah, Gemma's, what she said, it's, you know, spot on. You need to have something to hold the foundation there, because the skin can sometimes throw that off if it's not prepared correctly. We'll do another question. So we've got, are there primers for every skin type? Yes, I feel that Kryolan does something for absolutely everyone. We've got loads to choose from, right?
Yeah, I think, you know, everyone has either normal, oily, combination, dry skin. We've all got different skin type. All of our skin behaves differently. So Kryolan do manufacture products that are suitable for everyone, and not only like we said about skin type, but if you're a professional working in the industry, depending on the media as well, how the camera will pick that up under the lighting, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. The question just come up there. I'm just going to turn my other connection off just because I lost you there, Jem. So I'm just going to sort that Wi-Fi quickly. One question there was, which foundation is good for aged skin? Which we have obviously a really great range for foundations for mature skin, but try not to sometimes put a mature skin into a box when it comes to the choice of foundation. I do also strongly believe that the primer can help with that. So like Gemma was saying earlier, things like TV paint stick, okay, that wouldn't be our first choice for a mature skin because it's a little bit heavier, but using the right primers to manipulate a foundation can help work with a maturer skin. So we just mentioned the HG Micro Primer. If you use that underneath, that's going to filter out and smooth out any fine lines and pores, which then means you can put a nice foundation on top. All I would say is don't use anything that's too drying, too heavy on a mature skin. So something semi-self-setting or something you need to set with a powder where you can control. And also making sure that, I would say maybe like a fluid foundation. We've got the Digital Complexion, something like this, which even it does self-set, it's still really supple and nice on the skin as well, or the cream, which is beautiful. So something less heavy, and always prep and prime the skin prior, and you should be fine. That should help. The next primer, I'm getting distracted. I'm going on to foundation, so let me go back to primer. I've got Pro Shield. So this is also a fantastic primer to have in your professional makeup kits, or even in your makeup kit. You might be someone that suffers with super sensitive skin. You might find it doesn't matter what you put on your skin, you tend to get irritated by The Pro Shield is a barrier protective foam. So it's actually, I'm going to try and do this without getting it everywhere because it tends to have a mind of its own sometimes. But it comes in like a little mousse spray form. There we go, nice and controlled. And you only need a small amount. So this has everything in there from shea butter oils. It also has a medicated formula in there as well. Panthenol, all of those ingredients that really help to protect the skin. So if you're doing things such as, we take it a lot as well when we're doing like fashion shows. You can imagine these models' skin is so tired by the end of the show. They tend to then be a little bit difficult to put makeup on. So we always come with this, which is like our saving grace in our kits, because it helps just to really protect the pores. It stops any product like penetrating into the skin. As well, if you're doing anything like special effects makeup, so you're using lots of adhesives, you're putting prosthetic pieces on, beards and moustaches in theatre, it just stops any of those really kind of high solvent-based products irritating the skin. So for that, it's fantastic. Also airbrushing, we've tried it with the Nebula range that Kryolan do, and it works beautifully as a primer to make it really sit nicely in place. So that's a fantastic one for sensitive skin, any heavy duty makeups. It's just a barrier protective foam. Also hairdressers, we've known hairdressers to use it if they get dermatitis on the hands from washing hair, or even due to COVID, you know, we've all washed our hands a lot more. So it's a nice little hand protector, and it just feels really soft, silky, and just, you feel protected. You feel really sort of like hydrated afterwards as well. So that's a really great one. Also, if you're very dehydrated with your skin.
Yeah, so the Pro Shield for me, I do a lot of airbrushing, so I'm really glad you mentioned that point, because the Nebula range I work with from Kryolan is silicone based, and most primers contain silicone, and certain type of silicones don't connect very well. They actually slide off of each other.
Yeah.
So that one is a very good primer to just almost seal over the skin, and it's exactly what it says on the tin. It puts a barrier over the skin and then allows the makeup just, you know, spray the makeup on beautifully. To get the teamed up for airbrushing is a good combination, and I feel as a makeup artist it's a good safety net to have in your kit. It, you know, if you always have someone that says I'm super sensitive to everything, if you've put that barrier on, you're going to prevent anything seeping down into the pores. And if you're working with highly pigmented pigments, etc., those pigments won't get trapped in those smaller ones into the skin. I think the connection's bad. I'm not sure who's lost me or you.
There we are. Sorry. The connection is playing me up a little bit today, but I think I'm back now. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back. I might just stay still just to throw you off.
Amazing. Yeah, I was like, is she playing or? Okay, so yeah, that was the Pro Shield. Like, I think the way me and Gemma have both spoke about it so passionately, it's definitely one, like Gemma just said, to have in your kits. It's just great as well. Like we said, if you are working with people that are extremely sensitive, that are quite conscious of what goes onto their skin, it is a good all-rounder.
Okay, so next up for me, so Leanne's doing everything that's hydrating. I'm doing everything that's going to mattify the skin. So this is the next one that we're bringing to the table, which is the Kryolan Perfect Matte. Now this one is a gel consistency, silicone based, again very high performance. You can use this to definitely reduce some if anyone has excessively oily skin, this one is your go-to. Not just a little bit of shine like me, I mean really oily skin, this would work really well. So basically it helps to smooth out any irregularities on the skin. So it, again, will help to smooth out the skin, and it almost like puts a film over the top of the skin and allowing a good base for foundation to sit on. If anything's too oily, you almost get like it to slide back off. So it puts a film there, enabling you to work and build on top. Very popular in TV and film, especially when it comes to balding men. and you can put much powder and everything on, then you may create texture with the powder on the shine of the head. So this is a fantastic one to apply. Small amount, you'll see instant effects on the skin. Now, we always love Kryolan. I feel that they always love to create products that are diverse. So I'm going to tell you other options that you can use this primer. So if you're a special effects makeup artist, this is a must-have in your kit, especially when working with on-skin silicones, something from example like Artex, and they leave a high shine. Take a small amount of Perfect Matte, stipple that over the top to reduce the shine. And also, if you're doing cosmetic camouflaging and you're dealing with camouflaging a scar, especially a keloid scar that has a higher concentration of shine, again, the texture on the skin, it doesn't allow for makeup to grip and hold. So putting this over the top puts that layer and enabling you to put a concealer or foundation on top. So that is your Perfect Matte.
Definitely. The way I sort of look at it, it's like if you kind of imagine silicone, they're like all tiny little beads. So that puts that layer onto your skin and it gives then something to really kind of grip onto. If you're looking at the comparison of the primers that I'm using, anything that has shine, that's oily, especially if you're using like a Supracolor foundation or a Vitacolor foundation, they're a little bit more glossier. With the primers I've used, they're just going to slip away. So like the one that Gemma's explaining, that's really going to just hold on to it and keep it there all day.
Yeah, absolutely. It does increase the moisture resistance. So like if any foundation does give that effect after a while, it just keeps that at bay. So this one is like a velvety gel consistent, completely transparent. That is probably way too much if you're going to use it. Put it directly onto skin. Don't put it on top of a moisturizer, and it instantly mattifies.
Yeah, so I just saw the comment there, is that the matte primer that we're talking about? So yeah, this is the Perfect Matte for mattifying that we're talking about at the moment. So yeah, Gemma will hold it up in a minute so you can see the number of it. The name of it. Yeah, Perfect Matte.
Okay, do we want to do questions before we move on to the last?
Just going on to questions now. So can you use more than one primer at a time? So yeah, you definitely can. You don't want to physically like mix them together because you're mixing two separate ingredients. Fundamentally, with hydrating primers, their main ingredient is water. With mattifying primers, the main ingredient is silicone. So if you physically try and mix them together, they're going to just keep separating. And that's what you find a lot of the time if the skin and the foundation starts to split. We do get asked that question all the time. I've put a foundation on and it's just splitting, or it's cracking, or it looks marbled. It could be one of two things. Either you've used more than one primer and you've not layered them correctly. The other thing could be that maybe you've used an extremely hydrating primer and then put a very high concentrated silicone foundation on top. And naturally, they're going to repel against each other. So it's also important to remember with your primers, when you are combining, the ingredients are working not only for the skin type, but also the foundation that's going to sit on top. So always check your ingredients with that as well, because a lot of the time we do get people say, my foundation's moving, it's kind of marbling, it's rolling, and that's either down to too much product or the wrong preparation. If you do need to combine your primers, you might be someone that has like an oilier T-zone but dry around the nose and around the chin. Just use your primers directly to target those problematic areas. So hydrating primer around those dry areas, and then your mattifying primers in the oilier T-zones, which are quite common to have. So yeah, always just check your ingredients, make sure you're putting them in the right places and you're laying the correct product on top, which I think is like the main thing to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I would agree with you, Leanne. Two can be used on the face for like 100%. I like to use sometimes the ultra underbase just up on the cheekbones to enhance that beautiful high shine, reflect light, so it enables the cheekbones to look higher. And then I like to mattify. We don't ever want the upper sweaty lip area, and take down the shine, mainly T-zone. But being mindful, like sometimes I've experienced that clients will tell me that their skin type is dry, so we're like, right, hydrated. And actually sometimes it can be dehydrated. Now, there's a difference. So don't go in and overload with your primers.
Yeah.
And then it could be too much.
Yeah, overkill, and then you end up being a complete shiny disco ball for the rest of the day, which some people like. This is actually a really good question. So the question is, blending my foundation is extremely hard. Is this down to my primer? So it definitely can be. You've got one of two things. It can either be the tools that you're using are not the correct tools to get that kind of really flawless finish. Or it could be the fact that maybe the foundation's a little bit drier for the skin type, and then the primer's also drying the skin out as well. I think due to trends having that kind of heavier makeup application, due to the fact that we're all a lot more busier day to day, and due to the fact of having to wear masks, I think we've all got fixated on having this really sort of matte base, which for some skin types and occasions is absolutely fine, but generally the skin needs a little bit of something, a little bit of hydration to be able to wear a foundation correctly on top. So yeah, it could be down to the fact that your primer's too drying. So maybe try something out, like we said earlier, the Ultra Under Base. Gemma mentioned again, for those that didn't hear, something like a TV paint stick is quite a dry foundation. So this would work beautifully underneath to get that really soft, flawless blend. Jem, would you add anything to that?
Sorry, what was the question again?
So the question was, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, everything you have said, it could be many factors, tools, foundation choice, but to get a good blend, maybe then go for, they both, because both primers will give you a smooth texture on the skin. Yeah, or you can go for the hydration one, which enables like the brush to sort of glide across the skin more easily.
Just double check a few things. I mean, it's hard for us to give you a direct answer, but it could be down to skin prep, it could be down to tools, or it could just be the foundation in general. So hopefully that kind of answers a couple of your questions. We'll do one more and then we'll go on to our next primer. So another question we have here, can you apply a primer under the eyes to hide fine lines?
I always put the HD Micro Primer under my eyes. Just the fine lines here. I don't take it all the way in, but especially like the crow's feet, just a small amount. And like if you get any forehead lines, that's a really good one to smooth out the appearance.
Yeah, definitely. I think my go-to ones would be definitely the HD Micro Primer as well. I feel like that's like we said earlier, it's kind of like in between. Sometimes you get dehydrated eyes, so you need to hydrate. Sometimes you can get an oilier under eye, and that's why it also creases. So yeah, definitely the HD Micro Primer I would also suggest. Right.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt. I'm just going to come off because I can hear echoing on the phone. So it might just be my connection. Stay there. I'll be back.
I won't go nowhere. So while we wait for Gemma, I don't want to move on to the next one just yet. We have other questions. Let me make sure I keep an eye out for her as well. The other question that we have is, how do you avoid creasing on mature skin? Deep lines keep appearing. Let me just connect Gemma, guys. Bear with me. So mature skin's always one to think of, because sometimes it can be maybe the product you're using, such as the foundation, is far too heavy. That's going to kind of start to settle in those really fine lines and those areas that are a little bit more trickier to avoid. As well, the type of primer you're using. So like we said earlier, try not to use anything with heavy moisturizers, anything that's too sort of oily. I would go definitely for something like the HD Micro Primer, or the ones that we're going to be moving on to very shortly are also a fantastic option for mature skin. So let's just check that Gemma's connecting. I did send her a request, so hopefully she's got that. But generally, yeah, just it's very difficult because mature skin is a very broad spectrum. It can be down to just the sheer amount of product that you're putting on. It could be down to the skin preparation. I do find that most mature skin are more dehydrated. It definitely happens. As the skin gets older, it loses that elasticity in the collagen, and then it just leaves the skin looking a little bit more dull and dehydrated. So just make sure the skin's well prepped and that you're using a functional filler, something that's going to smooth and fill out those areas, which we're going to move on to now with our next primers. So is that better? Are you echoing anymore?
I need to talk to find out if I'm echoing.
All good?
It seems good. Oh no, I can hear my voice repeating. No,
You're fine. You've got a nice voice, so it shouldn't be too bad.
I don't need to hear it back at me.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the third and final primers that we have to show you today. So this, which some of you are probably now very familiar with, we've been going over these primers quite consistently over the last few weeks. So this is the new digital complexion range, which was in the making for 4 years. So it's had a lot of time and preparation to make this primer. I know that we're all massive fans of it. It's definitely helped us when it comes to photography work. It is a primer that is specifically made for high resolution. So you can wear it day to day, but I would say keep this for your professional kits. This is when you're working under those really scrutinizing cameras that pick up on texture, pick up on, you know, fine lines, open pores. This is going to give you the really gorgeous finish to your skin and to your makeup. So the one that I have here is for dry skin. And it's definitely more of a hydrating balm that you have here. So it has everything from aloe leaf to cocoa glyceride. It's got active ingredients in there as well to really help work inside the skin. Not only to promote good skin health, but also not to leave any residue on the surface of the camera. So this is going to be good to hydrate, and also if you want to leave any kind of high shine points on the top of the cheekbones, you can kind of cheat it by using the primer, which again, we have found when doing highlighter, you can see on the surface, whether it's a cream, whether it's a powder. So you can get this from working underneath the foundation. It looks super natural and it just gives you that really beautiful, beautiful glow, which I am going to put on my skin also. So whilst I start that, I'll let Gemma tell you a little bit about the one that she's going to be using as well.
Okay, thanks, Leanne. So they both come in very similar they come in exact same packaging, and they're very easy to understand which one to use, because it will say digital complexion primer for oily skin, and the ounce one says for dry skin. I can still hear it. I'm going to ignore that. I'm sorry, guys, if it's very frustrating. Okay, so my one is going to reduce shine. I've definitely noticed when working on 4K cameras, like high resolution, the clarity of the picture is incredible. You can see every detail of the makeup, but it also shows every detail of the skin, any fine lines and pores. And the light reflection can also highlight texture and shine. So if you sometimes with the naked eye you don't see the shine, I would always take my model, test under the camera first to also support which primer to use. So this one is a velvety gel. It's I'd say it's similar comparison, like qualities, but a more refined version. It's more micronized, it's more sheerer, it's velvety, it smooths the skin, like really does reduce that texture. It also has innovative special powders, which helps to also reduce that shine, absorbing any oil. So here we go. You can see it's a little bit more liquidy, inconsistent. I can just even tell by applying it under the back of my hand how lightweight that is. And then it enables you to just apply it, literally just pinpoint where you see the shine. I wouldn't put it on all over. It's also very quick drying, so that enables you to work directly on top. You don't have to wait for it to sort of set into the skin. We all know that when working on set, we don't have time. Time's not on our side ever. So that's a nice quality about it. So it's super compatible with any advanced technology.
Yeah, these are the ones that I was just previously saying, if you are working on also maturer skin, because they work internally, they're really helpful as well to promote a better skin condition. So again, they are made for a higher resolution. That's the kind of its platform and its main sort of key feature. However, you can have it in your kits as well, especially for things like we find, especially if you're doing things like bridal makeup. You're always going to have the mother of the bride or the mother of the groom. So you want to have something in your kits that's going to be suitable for everyone. And it's also photographically friendly. We keep kind of really highlighting that because it's a primer that has been made especially for camera. So yeah, they're a fantastic one to have in your kit. I've just applied the primer all over. So again, if you're someone that is quite dry but tends to get a little bit oily here, you can combine. For me, I do prefer a dewier finish on my skin. I do prefer that kind of super hydration. So if I come a little bit closer, excuse my blemishes, but if I come a little bit closer, you can see how glossy that looks compared to this side, which is just completely dull and flat. So that's going to give you that really gorgeous hydration. You're going to look nice and youthful, you feel fresh, and then you can start working on top with your foundation, which I'm going to use the fluids, which are completely self-setting. So if you're worried about it being too hydrated, it's going to move, these will also help keep everything in place.
I'm really sorry I didn't do the side comparison because of the placement of where I need my primer. You could already see on camera I had extreme shine on my forehead here. So the smallest amount I've just literally pinpointed that primer to control and reduce the shine, completely mattifying the area. Honestly, the smallest amount is so effective. So just be mindful that don't go on and, you know, squirt the bottle and put plenty of it on. You really want to assess the skin. So this is the Digital Complexion for oily skin, and this is part of the new Digital Complexion range. The range is all focusing on skin. So we get asked many questions. Does this work well underneath prior to TV paint or the Kryolan Supracolor or Dermacolor? Now these foundations are so super full coverage and probably isn't suitable for high resolution cameras, so you need to team it up with the connecting foundation, which then both leads us on to our application from the same range, which is the Digital Complexion Fluid Foundation.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on one side first just to show you guys how the foundation looks and sits with the primer, and then I'll do the other side that doesn't have the primer, just so hopefully you can see the difference. So if you are again looking for hydration, you're looking for that really gorgeous glow on the cheekbone, then this one is fabulous, which again is Digital Complexion for a drier skin. If you're a little bit concerned on camera, things like down the sides of the nose or like on the lip, you can powder. You've got that option to obviously like mattify in specific areas. You might be working on someone that does have texture here from dryness, so you may want to obviously just slightly hydrate that just to obviously get rid of that on camera, but you can also just powder if you need in very kind of particular areas. But generally I'll put this on. Once it's set down, it's absolutely perfect. It doesn't really need any powdering.
And I think that's such a key point, because when working with high resolution cameras, we are experiencing that the camera picks up on texture, and one of the main products that create texture is setting powder. Yes. So the combination of this primer and foundation is going to keep the shine at bay, controlled without having to apply a powder. I'm getting the powder absorption from my primer in particular to pull back any of that high shine.
Exactly. So I'm just going to go over to the other side. I'm also going to do some questions as well because we've got a few coming through. So top 2 primers to have in your makeup kit. Oh, I love it when you guys do this because it really puts me on the spot, because I'm greedy and I like to have everything. I don't go on any job without having everything in my kit, but I would 100% say, let's just count these maybe as 1. Yeah, so let's maybe just say that these are one primer. No, I would definitely go for Digital Complexion. If you only want 2 primers, then these ones are fantastic if you're working in photography. If not, then I would say a Digital Complexion primer and then maybe the HD Micro primer, just because again it's an all-rounder. If you're not working on camera and you feel like it's, you know, it's not something you really need, you just want like everyday primers, Ultra Under Base for sure, and then again the HD Micro primer. But that's my personal opinion. I don't know if Gemma would say different.
I don't think you answered that. I think you couldn't pick a favourite.
No, I would say if you're doing photography, no doubt about it, digital
Yeah,
complexion all the way. One of each. If it's everyday, HD, micro primer, and ultra underbase. I feel like I got out of that quite well.
Yeah, you did. I totally agree. It all depends on what you are using it for. It's important. Are you using it for yourself? Are you using it on your clients? Or the media? And which foundation you are teaming up? I have to be honest, I have all, because my work is so diverse. One day I could be doing a theatrical makeup and I need it to stay and it's going on a performance. The next minute I could be doing a macro shot on a photo shoot, and you know the camera is so close. And then the next day I could be doing a wedding and a bride. So it is very diverse. So I have all primers. So I'm organised, very organised. That didn't answer the question, I'm sorry, but we're just being honest.
You've done what I've done. You kind of went around the house and back to the same point.
Yeah, you need all.
I've got another question here. So can you use these on the eyelids? So all I would ever say is you don't, unless the eyelids are like extremely dehydrated, I would never use a hydrating primer on the eyelids. I would always try and use something that contains silicone, just to, one, stop the creasing, and also so when you start to put eyeshadows on top, it doesn't start to emulsify with the primer. So you can definitely use a primer, something like what Gemma's using at the moment. So the one for the oilier skin, it's very lightweight, but if not, stick to like an eyeshadow primer because it's been developed for that reason. But yeah, you can, as long as it's not too hydrating.
Yeah, totally agree. It's designed for the skin. The skin texture on your eye is very, very different. It's, you know, one of the thinnest parts. I would use an eyeshadow primer itself, which Kryolan offer, silicone based, controls texture, gives you the longevity and intensifies.
Yeah. Alternatively, what you can also go to, I hope I'm not speaking over Gemma because she just froze there. Oh, you're back. Sorry. What you can also do as well, the product that me and Gemma are both applying now is the Digital Complexion Concealers. These also contain an ingredient called phyto oil. It's what you find a lot in serums. So these have been developed to self-set so that it doesn't crease, but also to hydrate in the same breath. So these are also fantastic if you feel like you've worked with eyeshadow primers, they're dehydrating the eye, or they're just not, you know, doing the job to keep the oils at bay. I generally work with these and these only now for the eyelids and under the eyes. I tend to very rarely go to an eyeshadow primer now unless I know it's going to be like lots of creams and lots of thicker eye products. This works amazingly though, just under your eyeshadow. It corrects, it colour, it conceals, and also hydrates and sets at the same time. So it does a lot in one, and it just feels super comfortable and light as well, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree. I just put even when I've done my eye makeup today, the first thing I did was put the Digital Complexion as my primer. Just a lighter tone, so then when I put my nudes on, it just blends. Yeah. And then I use eyeshadow primer quite often when I'm working with bright colours to pop the pigments. Yeah. Or a loose pigment, and I want to adhere it onto the eye.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a few more questions coming through. Hopefully you guys are starting to see the results of what we've done. Definitely got much more of a higher shine going on here compared to here. So it's definitely doing the job. It's hydrating. You can see the movement there as well. So if you're working on camera, you get that really gorgeous halo of glow going through, which always looks really nice when you're trying to shoot a glossy skin. We've also got here, best primer to use on dry skin under TV paint stick. So Jem, I'll let you recap on that because you was talking about that earlier.
Okay, so to select TV paint stick when working with a high resolution camera, for me, wouldn't be my choice of product. If I'm working on a high resolution camera, I need to work with high resolution foundations, which is your Digital Complexion. And if someone does have dry skin, then I would use the primer that Leanne has applied, which is the dry skin. However, if you're using TV paint stick for a makeover or for a photo shoot and it's dry, I would then team that up with Ultra Underbase to give the skin some more glow, some dewiness, and allow the paint stick to glide on easier.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what? I'm looking at both of us now, and obviously we're using like different skin tones and whatever, but you can definitely see the difference between yours as being a matte finish and mine definitely being a lot more glowier. So not that that's a bad thing, but that the comparisons to what you want to see on camera or what your skin type is like. So that's perfect. And the nice thing as well about the one that Gemma's using, it's not over mattifying. So if you want to start off quite matte, but during the day you want to get a little bit of that natural glow, it allows that to happen without you getting too over oily as well. So that's a really fantastic one for, again, a really natural finish.
A lot of the shine on me is coming from my light. So if I turn that down, you can see that that's daylight hitting.
Yeah.
That's not my skin. You can see the light.
Oh, massively. Very nice.
Yeah.
Looks good. Which brush is best for application of primer? My personal opinion, if I'm being totally honest, guys, it's a personal preference. Some people like to use a flat brush. Some people like to use something you can really buff into the skin. All you just want to consider when you're using primers is that you have an even distribution. So I prefer to use a buffing brush because I feel like you can work it into the skin. And as well, you want to make sure that you don't over apply, which I feel like again, that's some people like to use a flat brush and some people also like to even use like hands. So totally your own choice. What would you go for, Gem?
I lost a little connection now. I'm not sure what the question was, sorry.
What brush would you use for primer?
I'm going to be honest, I do love applying the primer with my fingers. Obviously sanitized and washed. I like to be able to feel I've worked into the skin, and I like to be able to make sure I've not overloaded. So if I know I can feel it, if it's going to start to roll or bead, I know I've got it. I can feel the texture. So that's me.
Like it, like the honesty. Best way. No, it is a personal preference, like we say, some brushes, some fingers. The other one we have here, this is a really nice question. Best primer for textured acne scarring. So I would say, from my experience, I would want to go for something that has silicone rather than being over hydrating. The thing is with texture, it has two different spectrums. Texture can either be something that you can feel and physically see like a form. So acne scarring can either be, if it's like old scarring, it'd be quite pitted. So you end up with these kind of like pitted hollow marks in the skin. If you put anything with a shine or that's over hydrating in that area, it's actually going to highlight and make that look a lot more obvious. So I would then opt for using something like the HD Micro Primer, or even the one that Gemma's using today, which is the Digital Complexion Primer for an oilier skin. They have functional fillers, so they're going to help to plump out the skin and plump out any of that texture. And then also it's not going to put any shine there, which will naturally start to pick up that kind of area and make it look really obvious. Alternatively, if it's super dry acne, so if it's going through the process of healing and it's quite textured in that respect, then of course you're going to want to go to your hydrating primer. But generally for scarring, I would go for something that mattifies. Would you say different, Gem?
No, 100% agree. My instant go-to would be the HD Micro Primer. You've got to remember, if anything is going to reflect, shine and highlight, it will highlight any problematic area. So if you don't want to highlight something, don't put something that reflects shine.
Yeah.
That's the best way, I think, to remember it. So you're going to pick products that are going to reduce the shine. But like you said, if there is visible texture, as in flakiness, like skin coming away, then you might have to then use something just to hydrate the skin. Yeah. But I would probably do a moisturizer and then the primer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd do exactly the same. But they're all the questions. So guys, thank you so much for being so active. It's always really nice when we get the questions coming through. because it just helps us kind of elaborate a little bit more. We will be, of course, doing more lives coming up. We'll be very quickly going into Halloween soon as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that, because there'll be some Halloween lives coming up quite shortly. And yeah, just again, thank you for always joining us. Hopefully we have answered a couple of your problems in regards to skin prep and primers. Gemma, you look flawless. You look so nice. Your eyes look gorgeous as well.
Thank you. So you're all glossy, I'm all matte, but I have to, because I know, give me a couple of hours, I'll be shining.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you look great, and your eye makeup looks beautiful as always. We will as well save this live, so if you have joined a little bit later, or maybe you just want to recap over the products and make notes, then it will be saved onto the Kryolan official IGTV page, so you can just click onto that within the next, I would say, like 10 to 15 minutes, and that should be all uploaded on there for you to see. Other than that, though, we hope that you all have a fantastic rest of the week, and we'll be back again next Wednesday. So hopefully we'll see some of you all again.
Yes, amazing. Thank you, Leanne, and thank you, as always, for everyone for joining. If you still have questions about our primer range, there is so much information. Check out onto the Instagram page, or just send us a direct message, and we are always happy to help and support.
Absolutely. So take care, and Jem, thanks again, and I will see you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.